The Quebec Soccer Federation is upholding its ban on players wearing turbans. Earlier this week, Canada's Soccer Association suspended that organization over the ban. The decision severs ties with the provincial group, but Quebec isn't backing down. In fact, the Premier, Pauline Marois, has weighed in on the matter, and she says the Quebec Soccer Federation has the right to make its own rules. Is this ban really about safety concerns, or is this really about discrimination? How far will some groups go to have the ban overturned? Let's get a voice from Vancouver. Prem Vinning is the president of the World Sikh Organization of Canada. Mr. Vinning, good to have you on this program today. Your organization clearly not happy about the ban. What was your reaction when you found out that Pauline Marois, the Premier of Quebec, has weighed in and supported the ban?
Well, I'm extremely disappointed. I really thought that she would show leadership. As a premier, once you're elected as a premier, you represent all Quebecers, regardless of race, religion, or ethnicity. You represent all people of Quebec, and those children should have been represented by that premier. And she should have talked about their rights and their ability to play soccer. So I'm extremely disappointed.
Is this an act of discrimination in your view?
Well, I get asked that question a lot of time, is it racism? And I'll tell you, I left India when I was 7 years old, and I grew up in the Western world, and in my heart of heart, I believe that Quebecers are not racist. And if Quebecers had to make this choice, they would have made the right choice. And there would have been no issue. But it seems to me that political leaders or some people in a position of authority are exercising their ability to make a decision and not making the right decision, and it affects all Quebec children.
You're being careful here. When Pauline Marois backs the Quebec Soccer Federation, when the head of that federation went on, and we have the clip when she says people in turbans should play in their own backyards, separation, essentially segregating your soccer players who wear the turban. I just got to ask you, to be frank, when the Premier says that, is that just backing the Quebec Soccer Federation and just saying they're independent, they have the right, or does that verge on something more dangerous?
Well, I guess Canadians are going to have to make that call, but I'll tell you something, Quebec is my backyard. When I got 4 children, 3 of them are trilingual. They went to French immersion school. And 20 years ago, me and my wife made that decision. We felt Canada is our country. French is an official language of this country, and our children need to learn that official language. And they've learned that. I have a grandson who's 18 months old, and I'm sure he's going to be in a French immersion. How do I tell my grandchild that he's not able to play soccer in Quebec? But getting back to the backyard, last time I checked and looked at my passport, Quebec was part of Canada. Quebec is my backyard.
What do you say if they say to you? I'm playing devil's advocate here, but they say we don't have religious symbols. You don't wear the crucifix. You don't wear anything. That's our rule. So whatever everyone's got to dress the same, so they say there's safety concerns, but we don't want religious symbols, so no turban. If they said that argument to you, what would your response be?
Well, there's not a safety issue there, and the Sikh code of conduct has been in place for over 300 years, and it is part of the Sikh faith and the Sikh religion for a Sikh individual to wear his turban, and that's not going to change. And I'll tell you, I got a call from a family, and the father's name was Donald Pickerton.
Yeah.
He called me and he says, Mr. Vinning, he said, I've got 2 children, a 6-year-old and an 11-year-old, and he says they're not going to play soccer anymore until the Sikh children with turbans are allowed to play. And he says my 11-year-old cried, and because he was going to miss soccer, but the next day he said, Dad, we made the right decision. And I like to say this to the Premier, and I'll tell you, I will do everything within my power as the President of the World Sikh Organization to make sure Mr. Pickerton and his children are allowed to play soccer in Quebec and with his Sikh friends.
I got about less than a minute here. what will you do? I mean, if my kids play soccer, they ask me about this too. It's very difficult to explain, frankly. How far will you go to protest the decision of the Quebec Soccer Federation and also the support it's getting from Premier Pauline Marois? What will you do to Pauline Marois? What kind of protest, what kind of action will you take?
There is no limits to what we will do. I am already in consultation with legal counsel, make that very clear, and that discussions are taking place as we speak, and we will have a decision soon. But we will do whatever it takes, and we will have Sikh children in Quebec play soccer, and all children of all different faiths and ethnicity play soccer together in Quebec, because Quebec is an integral part of this country, which we're proud to be part of as Canadians.
All right. Prem Vinning, this is a very important issue. It's a significant issue for all sorts of reasons across the country. People are watching it very closely. There's a lot of political implications here. We'll continue to monitor this. I promise you that. Mr. Vinning, thanks for coming on the program.
Evan, thank you. And in closing, I'd like to say that I'm confident that Canadians are going to join us together to fight this.
All right. Mr. Vinning, I appreciate that, the President of the World Sikh Organization of Canada.